All right. Right. So welcome everybody. Kate Gunning is with us this week, and she's going to be talking about her work as the head of the membership development at the Booksellers Association and the mentoring scheme that she's been leading on. And I won't say more than that because I know she is more than enough to fill the time. So I will I'll share this PowerPoint now. Where to go? That work?
Yep, that's lovely. Perfect. Thank you,
Okay.
Eben.
I will mute myself.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. And thanks also to Sam, who invited me to speak in the first place. I was going to keep this relatively brief, so there'll be time for questions at the end. So I wanted to introduce myself to start with. Some of you might know me already, some of you won't, but I've spent almost the whole of my working life in the book trade. I actually worked as a library assistant when I was at school, and after graduation, I spent 1 year working as an editor and archivist at the BBC, and then from then on, it's all been all about books. I joined Waterstones as a Christmas temp at Christmas 1987, and I spent 13 years working for Waterstones, which was sort of growing a lot back in those days. I managed branches of Waterstones in Bristol and London, and I was also lucky enough to spend a year working in Paris. It was when Waterstones were owned by W.H. Smith. I mean, it's quite funny to think about the force that W.H. Smith was back then and how things are now. Back then, Smith was incredibly powerful player on the high street, and they had these shops in Europe, including one in Paris, which was one of the leading English language bookshops in Europe. And I was lucky enough to work there for a year. I left Waterstones in 2001, and I joined Selfridges department store as its book buyer. That was very different, quite glamorous at times, quite strange at times. And then more recently, I was head of buying at Foyles back when Foyles was an independent. 4 years ago, sorry, I've missed out the publishing. That's interesting. In 2009, after 21 years in bookselling, I hopped over the fence into publishing. Some people would say I went to the dark side, and I joined Random House, later to become Penguin Random House. And I worked as their independent bookshops manager. So I worked across the entire group, which once it was PRH, there were 8 divisions publishing 200 titles a month. And I worked with all of the independents across the UK and Ireland. So it's a nice broad range of things to do, and it certainly kept me busy. I looked after that overall relationship. Then, as I say, 4 years ago, I was lucky enough to join the Booksellers Association. And as Evan said, I'm head of membership development. So I look after all things membership, which includes looking at membership numbers, all our communications. And I'm the lucky person who gets rung up really quite frequently by someone who says, I'm thinking of opening a bookshop. And quite often, I'm the first point of contact, and I'll help guide them through that process. I run the learning and development program, and I also look after some of the specialist groups that we run at the BA. And as an aside, I do go off and speak from time to time, go off and speak in universities to publishing students. And that's how I got to know Sam. I'm here today to talk about the mentoring program that the BA ran with Creative Access. So who are Creative Access? You may know all about them, but just in case you don't know, they are the UK's leading inclusivity organisation, specifically working with the creative industries. So when I was at PRH, we actually had a very close relationship with them there. There was a mentoring program that worked between us. And the BA, we've worked on various different projects with them, including an internship, a rolling internship, which is within the membership department. So it's a member of staff in my team. They've advised booksellers on how to recruit diversely, and they've also advised our executive team. And then, yeah, it's in terms of what we mean in terms of this diversity. Candidates typically qualify for creative access opportunities if they identify with one or more of the following underrepresented groups. The first one is race and ethnicity, so that's people from an ethnically diverse background. The second group is around disability and health, so that's deaf, disabled, neurodivergent individuals, and those with mental health conditions. The third one is around gender, so people with the characteristics of gender reassignment. The fourth one, and this is a particularly significant one, I think, for the creative industries, is the one around socioeconomic backgrounds. So individuals from less advantageous socioeconomic backgrounds. And finally, there's a group around carers and asylum seekers. So those are the ones that there's a real focus on. And Creative Access last year helped the BA put together a workforce survey. So this was across independent bookshops in the UK and Ireland, and it happened early last year. And the aim of it, as you might imagine, was to gather more data about our book selling workforce to enable us being the BA, to tackle issues around barriers to access and issues of representation. More than 400 booksellers took part, which is a good substantial chunk of the membership. So more than 400 independent booksellers took part in last year's survey. And the results, we got a very detailed breakdown of feedback, but there were three particular areas of shortfall that were of concern. And those three areas were ethnicity. So to be more specific, 7% of respondents said they were part of a global majority. So this is 7% of those 400 people who replied. And that's compared to a national figure for England and Wales of 18%. So 7% compared to 18%. Carers for adults, the figure from respondents was 10%, and the national figure is around 18%. And finally, you won't be surprised to hear the final one was socioeconomic. Of the booksellers who completed the survey, 60%, 60, said they were from a professional background, so they grew up with parents, one or more of whom was in a profession, compared to a national figure of 37%. The other sort of measure is that 13% of booksellers attended an independent or fee-paying school compared to the national figure of 7%. So that gives you some of the figures that you can see why those were the particular areas of concern, the ones that we wanted to focus on. So in order to address the issue of diversity more generally, the BA and Creative Access produced a 3-year strategy document outlining a number of measures. So it was 2025 and beyond. And at the heart of it was the mentoring program that we're talking about today. And that ran for the first time last year. So how did that work? The first thing we did was we ran a masterclass. So it was an online masterclass as a webinar. And the aim of this, so it was aimed at people who signed up via Creative Access, and they were people who were interested in bookselling in a career, or they might already be in bookselling or perhaps a related profession. but want to know more about how to progress or yeah, how to progress and rise up through the ranks. And the masterclass, I think a big part of it was to demystify bookselling. I mean, Eben and I were talking just now about some of the myths around bookselling and some of the way it's sometimes it sometimes feels it's the poor relation in in relationship to publishing. And I was very, very clear with Creative Access that what we were talking about was bookselling. It was not the book trade, it was specifically bookselling. The masterclass was chaired by Fleur Sinclair, who at the time she's no longer president, but at the time she was the president of the Booksellers Association. And she was, in fact, its first person of colour to hold the role of president. And she's the owner manager of Seven Oaks Bookshop in Kent. So she was the chair, and there were four panelists, and they were Amanda Truman of Truman Books in Leeds. It's an independent. Helen Tamblin Saville of Wonderland Bookshop in Retford, Nottinghamshire. That's a children's specialist and an independent. Paul Lynch, who works at Waterstone's head office in staff development. And Emily Adsett, who is the manager of Hazelwood Bookshop in Surrey. They did an absolutely really superb job. It's not an easy gig, because they didn't really have much practice and they didn't know each other and they didn't necessarily know Creative Access. And it's online and there were questions and we didn't know what questions were going to come up, but it was really superb. And I do have the recording of it. I'm really happy to share that. Subsequently, if you're interested. And in fact, without wanting to sort of get too ahead of myself, we have launched this year's program already, and we have already done this year's masterclass. And I was thinking, wow, how are they going to top last year's? But they did. And so I'm really happy to share both of those. Worked really, really well. So we ran the masterclass, and then immediately after that, the recruitment kicked in. So Creative Access advertised on their opportunities board, and they got people applying to be mentees. I put the word out to booksellers far and wide for them to think about being a mentor. And they also applied via Creative Access. So Creative Access got to see all of the applicants. We needed 15 mentors and 15 mentees. That was the number we fixed on. And I also spoke to some specific people who I thought would make particularly good mentors and encourage them to apply. It was helpful for me that I ran a mentoring program at the BA, so that sort of helped inform. I knew a little bit about what was required, so that helped informed the process. The successful mentors and mentees both filled out questionnaires and they were very carefully matched by Creative Access and were then invited to an online meet and greet, which took place in July of 2025. And that outlined the programme, talked a bit more, gave a bit more detail about what was required of both parties. And then there was this slightly scary moment where all these breakout rooms had been created and each of the pairs, the 15 pairs, they went off into a breakout room and had their first one-to-one session. I was terrified that that tech was going to fail, but it all worked absolutely fine. And thereafter, the pairs of mentors and mentees went off and they did 6 mentoring sessions over a 6-month period from sort of the middle of the year through to the end of 2025. If we go on to the impact report, so if we go on to the next slide and then the one after that. And these first 2 slides just show the pairings. So you can see on the left-hand side the names of the mentees and what what they were up to at the time of recruitment. And on the right-hand side, you could see the mentors and whereabouts they work. And what I thought was interesting is some of the things that I knew what the mentors were doing because I knew them, but the mentees were doing a variety of things. There's several freelancers. There were, as you might imagine, at least one student. And there were people who already worked in the book trade. You can see there that there was an editor from Penguin Random House. So, I mean, I found that very cheering that someone who already worked in publishing was interested in at least receiving mentoring as regards bookselling. Also, to make it clear, this was not just independent booksellers who were taking part. We were really enthusiastically supported by Waterstones. I work closely with their learning and development team, and they've been absolutely great, and they're taking part this year as well. So it's a real pleasure to have them on board. As an ex-Waterstones person myself, it's always lovely to work closely with them, and they are obviously BA members. And so yeah, we had a really good selection geographically, and you know, lots of different kinds of backgrounds. And Evan, if we go on to the next slide, we'll just see the second chunk of pairings. Thank you. And yeah, so you can see some people are already working in bookshops. And so there was a real variety of people, some of whom had a fair bit of experience already, and some of whom had very little. By and large, the mentors were really quite experienced booksellers, as you can imagine. I mean, I think it's such a collaborative industry. I'm sure you all know that already. I was helped when I was starting out as a young person decades ago, and I sort of feel it's only right and proper that I give something back to the next generation or the one after that. And I think a lot of these mentors felt the same, that they wanted to pass something on. So there you've got your pairings, and those are the people that that set off to do their six sessions over 6 months. If we go on to the next slide, Evan, this is where we see the impact. So just to clarify then, that they had 6 sessions between the middle and the end of the year. And in the middle point, there was a check-in session where they could just sort of pause and have a think about how it was going, maybe think about if something needed changing. And then at the very end of the program, we obviously wanted to get feedback from both the mentees and the mentors, and that was supplied anonymously. And that's really, the rest of the slides are going to be looking in a little bit more detail at that. So here's the mentee feedback. So I'm going to be really, really honest and open with you. I would say overall, we were fairly pleased with the feedback. There are definitely improvements that we can make and are trying to make. I'm not ashamed of that. You have to start somewhere, and I think with any fledgling program, you just go out there, you give it your best shot, and you try your best, and you get some things right and some things wrong. Surprise, surprise. And some of the things that we maybe could do better. We've obviously incorporated the feedback into this year's program, and that's the beauty of running it over several years. And I'm also informed by the fact that at the BA, I run a coaching program for senior books for bookshop managers. But I am not the coach, but I administer the program. We've been running it for 4 years, and it's got better with each year. We've honed it over a period of years. And I think hopefully that's what we'll do with this program too. So to cut to the chase and look at some of the statistics, it was cheering to see that 75% of mentees felt a confidence boost as a result of the program. There's a slightly smaller majority saying that it left them feeling more optimistic than before as regards opportunities for a career progression. I'll give you just a few, a little bit of time just to take in the feedback there. I won't go slavishly through every sort of segment because that would be pretty dull. If we go to the next slide, Evan. So again, 3/4 of mentees agreed that the program improved their knowledge and skills. So that again was gratifying. And again, a smaller proportion that felt that I think this is a crucial one because as an industry, those contacts and networks are extremely important. So that's a figure I would really like to see go up this year. So 60% of mentees for last year's program felt that the program expanded that network of contacts. Some of that's directly through the person who was mentoring them, not surprisingly. But that's one of the figures that I'd like to see go up. And then on the next slide, Evan, this is where we see the overall the different benefits and which ones stood out. So the one that stood out was the trusted professional contact. So that's, I guess, the mentor, right? And so I was happy to see that. But there's that first thing. The first one on the far left is a boosting confidence. We saw that statistic, and then things around knowledge, insights, industry contacts, identifying opportunities, which is a really important one, and the sort of the networks can only help with that. Articulating skills was one of the lower ones. So again, that's one perhaps to look to improve this year. Similarly, interview preparation. As I think I mentioned, different mentees were at different stages of their career. And so for some people, they were ready to start going for interviews. Others were really quite far off from being in a position to do that. And in actual fact, some people did secure new roles during the time they were doing the program. So those are the most significant benefits as regards to the mentees. And then the next slide gives us some quotes. Really, really nice quotes there. Again, I'll just give you a moment to take in those. And then if we go on to the next slide. So 100% of surveyed mentees stated they had mental support when applying for new roles. So that was great. That was something very concrete that the folk who did apply for some kind of new role during those 6 months got, in every case, got support from their mentors. And 50% of mentees moved into new roles whilst on the program, with one mentee opening a bookshop. How about that? That's what we like to see. At the bottom then is, as I say, there's definitely work to be done. And we're trying to cover that off in this year's programme. So an idea to meet as a cohort, I think that's a great idea. That's something we do on the BA's coaching programme. We actually have an in-person session halfway through the programme. So I know how powerful that can be. I don't think it's not realistic, I think, to expect people to come and attend in person, but maybe getting together online. Different topics and situations, more time on the initial call, so that's the meet and greet session. And the final one is one that obviously I've been thinking a lot about. Hear more from Booksellers Association about events and programs that might be available for the mentees to join. So some of those that we've thought about are potentially mentees coming to the program the BA organises for booksellers at the London Book Fair in the spring. It's a great program. It can be quite overwhelming to walk into Olympia or Excel, it's going to be next year. And there are all those publishing stands. It's all quite scary. But for that reason, the BA has carved out a really good structured 2-day program for booksellers who attend the fair. And the mentees would be, it would be great if any mentees who were able to could join. Another thing that I thought it would be really, really easy for them to join the 1-day introduction to bookselling course that the BA runs 3 times a year. We do it twice for UK people in the UK and once for Ireland. And it's a sort of one-stop shop, very intense day, lots and lots of information for people who are thinking of opening a bookshop or who just want to hear more about it, really. And again, they'd be very welcome to join. So that's the mentee feedback. If we go on to the next slide, this is the mentor feedback. So again, this first percentage is half and half. Mentor respondents, 50% of them agreed that the program improved their confidence in working with colleagues from underrepresented groups. Yeah, I mean that's somewhere where room for improvement perhaps. But a significantly higher proportion felt that their skills in working with those groups were improved. Next slide. Here we are, the most significant benefits of the program. Improved knowledge is the outstanding one there, but also high scoring are identifying opportunities and articulating skills. So the overall benefits of the program. Okay, we go on to the next slide. And these are really interesting, I think. And it'd be good to maybe linger on these just a bit. So let's go through them one by one. I've never mentored anyone before. I found it quite a confidence boost. So it's really interesting, the benefit. It's kind of obvious and it's a little corny, but the benefit to the mentee is kind of obvious. The benefit to the mentor is maybe something slightly more subtle. But this person says, professionally speaking, it also made me reflect on my own business, which is always helpful. So yeah, it benefits both parties. Next one down. I found this program to be quite challenging. I had to be flexible in suggesting subjects to discuss and challenge my mentee to think more about their career. So, I mean, more than one mentor said they really found it quite testing, that it was, I mean, some of them had lots of experience in mentoring people and some had next to none. And it puts the onus on creative access, that's what they do. I mean, Richard Clark, who ran the program, who is mentioned in one of the slides, he heads up mentoring for creative access. He is a real expert, and he was available all the way through the program for anyone to check in with him, any of the people participating to check in with him. So the one in the top right says this program was more challenging than I expected. I found how to let go of expectations. It's interesting that people didn't necessarily turn out to be exactly what they thought it was going to be, and Richard stepped in this particular instance to provide guidance. And then bottom left, I found this extremely rewarding and a fantastic opportunity to advance communication skills. So that one's lovely. And then in the middle on the right hand side, in looking for answers, this is the quote I love. I learnt a lot from my colleagues in the bookshop about their respective roles and came to have a greater understanding of the bookshop as a whole beyond my role within it. That's a brilliant one. So, unexpected consequences, eh? Unexpected by me anyway. And then bottom right-hand corner, creative access made it easy to share industry knowledge while supporting real progression and confidence building. So, I mean, it was great to get honest feedback. Kudos to those mentors who said this was actually really quite difficult. And I think at least one instance, there was they had to sort of pivot. And maybe at that half-in check-in point, it was kind of, I don't know, because those sessions were confidential. There's no reason why I should know anything about them. But, I think maybe there were instances where there had to be a bit of a reset halfway through. So if we go on to the next slide. So what do we take forward? The opportunity for some additional training at the start, or possibly even during the program. So, more support, more training, I think the real highlights of the feedback. A separate longer session before the meeting, so make more of that. More opportunity for introduction before the program starts. So kind of saying similar things. Useful to have additional support about setting goals. And then the bottom slide says, so it was up to the mentor to, it's up to the pairings of the mentor and the mentee to set, did they set times, did they set dates and times for all 6 sessions at the outset, or did they kind of do it on a rolling basis? And I mean, I think this person is saying, let's carve it in stone at the beginning. Not every mentee would have wanted to do that, I don't think, but it's definitely, in some cases, a great idea to get those things into the diary at the beginning. Chalk it up to experience. I'd like to give this another go and see what happens next time. What's been gratifying is we are in the process of starting off the 2nd year of this program. We've had the masterclass, as I say, it was absolutely brilliant. We're doing the recruitment. In fact, today is the closing date for people applying to be either mentors or mentees. And what's lovely is that some of the mentors have come back to do it a 2nd time, which is absolutely splendid. And I think there's one more slide, is there? So reflections, cohort 1 saw a great level of representation from indies and chain booksellers, and good representation of mentors with lived experience reflecting that of the mentees. So that was great. As I said, we advertised it broadly, and I also sort of pinpointed specific people who I thought might be good at mentoring. I had no involvement in the mentee recruitment. The pilot, we received lovely feedback or extensive feedback, underlining the power of mentoring and how it motivated and empowered individuals. And then further training opportunities, we said, more contact, more structure, more support. And at the bottom, talking about the plan for this year, brilliant opportunity to build on the success, powerful way for those pursuing or hoping to pursue a career in the creative industry to connect with industry experts. And, to a great extent, we achieved what we set out to do. But it's not surprising that some tweaks have been made before we started out on this year's programme. I think that's the last slide, Evan. Is that? Yeah, that's it. So that gives you a little bit of context. It hopefully gives you an idea of how we went about setting up the programme, and it gives you some of the feedback. So now over to you. Just wondered if you've got any questions. I will answer them if I can. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. I'm going to turn off the recording so people can feel